trees at home, just from the simple fact of maybe not knowing what to do or where to cut it and being very worried about doing the wrong thing. So I'm actually going to use these few trees, I think, as the demonstration. But the first thing that I do real simply when I come out to the tree is, you know, in the beginning you're going to be overwhelmed with what to cut. So I start to compartmentalize things that I need to do, things that I know I need to do. The first thing that I do is I go right to the base and I look for any suckers coming up here. Just make sure we have no draining of energy from below the graft union. Does everybody know what the graft union is? Okay, and we understand that suckers come from below that and they're sucking energy. So we're all probably pretty used to removing the suckers. Okay, the next thing I would do is I would come up and I would look and I would see, well, do we have any skirts? And usually a cherry tree should be full all the way through in the summer where we really can't see through it. And after the harvest, we're thinking to ourselves, gosh, I might need to do a summer pruning. But with this tree, we see a lot of dieback and beetle damage. So we really don't have any skirts coming out. So the skirts are going to be located on the lower branches down here, and they're going to have grown downward. And what we don't want is to make the energy stretch that much. We want all of our energy to go up and out for the tree. So when we see things coming from down here and going down, we know that we're stretching our energy and we want to compartmentalize. Why? Because we want all of our energy where our fruit is going to be. So we don't really have any skirts on this guy. Now the next thing that I would do is I would go through and I would eliminate all of the dead wood. Now, if you look close, you start looking on this tree, the majority of these branches over here are actually dead. And we can tell this by this wrinkly, dry, they feel very light. And when you scrape them with your fingernail, it's going to be brown on the inside, okay? That's a good test all the time. Whether a branch is alive or not is scrape it either with your fingernail or just the bare edge of your pruners. You'll see green or you'll see brown. Or you may see yellow, which is a transition, meaning it is dying back, okay? That's still one that we would take off. So we would evaluate all of our limbs and start to take off all of the dead. And as I look down here, this entire branch would go, okay? If I look up here, all the way up, we've got wrinkly, we've got beetle holes, and we see dry and die. And as I'm looking, well, we get down here and we have some life activity here, but we have oozing. So my job right now is to eliminate dead branches, and so I would be going around the tree, taking off all of the dead branches. And if we look up on these big tall laterals here, we see that there's actually a lot of dried and died tiny branches coming off of the larger branches. So it's not just big branches we're looking to take off. We want all of the dead off of there. And when we're clipping it off, we want to clip it completely so that we're not leaving little nubbies. Now, let's see if I can find some nubbies. Well, no, I won't. See that one up there where we've got 1 inch sticking up above? Mm-hmm. And see all of the branches off of there have dried and died. Now, a better cut on that would have been to remove it all the way down to the side branch completely, because that 1 inch can really suck a lot of energy and dry and die that branch. So we don't want any nubbies. So for instance, if I were to cut and correct this one, although this whole thing is dead right here, so it's really not a good choice, we're probably gonna move on. But I would actually want to cut it right here, because I want energy flow to always be going into another branch. Now, the exception of this is in winter, we can bud set, which means that we can see buds located along these big branches, and we can take it down to an outside available bud as well. Why an outside bud? Because our goal is to not have a crowded interior, which I'm going to talk about next. So first thing is dead wood, and the second thing is going to be damaged wood or bad branches, basically. So a great example of this over here That's okay, I get to drink water. A great example of a branch that's partially alive but very damaged and not going to be helpful to the tree in the future is going to be this, okay? So we would want to remove this all the way down here. So this tree, unfortunately, probably has, 60% of it is dead and will need to be removed. Normally, when we're pruning a tree where everything's not dead, the total amount of pruning that we're trying to do is 15 to 20% of the total mass of the tree. But when you come upon a tree that has dead wood, the rule is that you need to remove all the dead wood, because the dead wood exhausts the tree. It takes its last little bits of energy, even though it doesn't seem like a dead piece would. It does, because the tree is signaling damage and sending her reserve energies stored in her root system up to try to heal it, and it can't be healed, and that costs energy. So dead and damaged wood, we're going to be eliminating. Now, the next thing that we're going to do is we're going to understand that airflow and light penetration to the interior of the tree is of utmost importance. And our job is to get airflow and light penetration to the interior of the tree. Even if there's a central leader. If there's a central leader, we would give airflow around the central leader of the tree, directing the branches to the edges. But this does not have a central leader. This has a vase shape, which is what the majority of your stone fruit should be shaped in. And what we mean by clearing out the interior is going to be branches that are coming off the big laterals here, facing the interior. These branches will grow and darken the interior the next summer, leading to a lot of fungal diseases and bugs, because that's where bugs like to hide. So our job is to clear the interior so that we have wind, and then we also have sunlight penetration through all of these branches down into the interior. So let's move on to another tree and see what we can see. So, what do you do if you don't have a tree that was, although that tree was dying, and we're gonna do corrective pruning on that, that tree had a very simple shape to it. That's a shape that everybody could easily see what to do, where the interior is, where the skirts are, where the suckers are. Now this one's different. This is a bizarre shape. So what do? Well, when we have a shape that's unusual, or a tree that has been pruned in a direction that is not ideal, our job is to remember our goals. And what our goals are is to free up energy from the congested spots of the tree and move that energy out to the periphery of the tree where the majority of the fruit is to be located. Another way of saying that is all the little tiny branches that are congesting in the center that might never see light and will only pick up bugs and fungal spores. Let's eliminate that, okay? Let's get some airflow through. So we've got our big trunk here, and we've got some random laterals, okay? So what we want to do is come in here and start eliminating all of these tiny little branches that are coming in the interior only, everything that's going in, okay? What we want is to locate branches that are coming out. And I can tell that this is probably a dieback here that had to be cut off, and so now we're doing this, and we're also trying to just keep them off the sidewalk.
So just to interrupt really quick, this is where the developers, when they wanted to lay this sidewalk, came in and just hacked these trees without consulting the farm.
This is perfect. Thank you. I mean, that's horrible, but this is direct evidence. Now I'm standing here trying to prune this poor tree that is in a weird shape because we haven't honored the situation for the tree. So it's always going to be about how can we honor what the tree needs? How can we understand that the tree is an individual being that has all of the same needs as us? Okay, so with that in mind, we do gentler cuts. We think before we cut. We don't cut where we can't see. So one thing that always happens is that the branch is too tall and there's nothing for you to stand on, and so you're up here trying to make a cut. And I would highly encourage you to correct that situation. Get the right piece of equipment, right ladder, so that you can make an eye level cut if at all possible, because that's how you're going to make a good cut. So we're going to deal with these trees as they are, and we're going to free up their energy by removing all the little branches that are congesting them. And those branches, majority of those, are going to be the ones that go in, the ones that are dead, the ones that are diseased, or the ones that are dysfunctional. So you can think of the D's, I guess. Now, dysfunctional branches are ones that cross each other, because you want to think about what's going to happen in the future for branches. They just get thicker and thicker and thicker, and if both branches are getting thicker and they're already crossing, eventually they're going to meet and start rubbing. And that rubbing is an excellent way to call in beetles and all sorts of bugs to go right into that little wound that is created, and also that tight space. That's where all the bugs are going to set up shop. So as I look at this tree, we've got these crossing, they're going to be crossing pretty soon. So I would try to alleviate this congested part, and I would say to myself, well, how am I going to do that? Well, this is a nicer branch. This has a perfect direction. It's filling up and it's flowing away from the main trunk of the tree here. Now, this other branch that is the problem, that is also here, is going in this direction, but is closer to the trunk, so that's more congested. So if I say to myself, which branch am I taking out? I'm taking out the one that is already congesting the tree more, or the one that's going to provide me with less congestion when I take it out. Okay? Yeah.
So where are you going to cut that branch?
Where am I going to cut that branch? So as I say to myself here, I've got to eliminate it. Now, let me go to each crotch of each branch location and think in my mind what is going to be happening if I cut it there. Okay, so here's the first one. So we're eliminating the crossing branch, right? But then we've got this branch that goes up and is still rubbing and crossing all the way up. So we know that only cutting it to here, that's actually not going to do anything for us. So now we're going to go down to our next choice, I guess. And we're going to say, if we eliminate it here, okay, well, we've gotten rid of all of the stuff that's rubbing up there. What is that going to leave me? Okay, it's going to leave me a branch here. It's going in a decent direction. This one will need to be clipped because it's going down. That's dysfunctional. And then I've got this guy over here on it. So as I look at that guy, it looks like something's happened. Maybe it's been broken and healed, but it also has a poor direction at this point. So we know that we're gonna take off this one and this one, but I think we can keep this one, okay? And what we will do is address the crossing of the tip only, okay? Because we wanna keep, just think about where a cherry fruits. Every single little bunch that's your fruit. So we want to provide airflow, but also every branch that's going in the right direction, let's give it a chance to have some fruit, because we know that all of our incorrect branches coming off, and we know that our bud setting, which is what we're going to talk about in a second, down, that's going to take off so much. So we're going to hit our 15 to 20% easily. So trying to keep branches that are going in the right direction is good to do.
So when you make these cuts, are the angle of the cut important?
The angle of the cut is important. It needs to be about 45 degrees. But what's more important is the proximity of the cut. So where's my pruners?
Okay.
So let's talk about pruners for a second, actually. So where's my pruners?
You left them
Yeah, I have a habit of deleting all of our stuff.
We all do.
Okay, so let's stop and talk about pruners, because the actual pruner itself is important. So I call them nubbies, but there is, when you usually prune a tree, it's really easy to not prune it quite at the right spot, okay? So we're gonna come down here, I'm gonna say, I don't like this branch, and I'm gonna take it off right there, okay? To me, that is, well, not to me, but to the tree, the collective amount of these nubbies, not only it loses energy and it uses energy incorrectly, because you have energy trying to go into this spot that doesn't have a bud, or maybe has one bud that's going to create a mass right there. So we're going against what we need to do. So when we're clipping anything, we want to clip it just on the outside of the collar. So if you look at each, and you can come up and look if you want, every single connection spot on this tree has a few little wrinkled lines on the outside of it. That's the collar, and we want to place our pruners right on the outside of the collar at a 45 and make a cut. We don't need to spray it after that, because at the 45 we'll dry it. We don't need to cover it up with any kind of putty or anything. That will actually trap fungal spores. We just need to make the right cut, and we need to make a smooth cut, and we need to make the cut at the point where we have memory cells that can quickly heal that cut. And what we're trying to do is have energy flow quickly to the end of the branch, and every single nubby that we're creating is going to stop that. So we're just creating all of these little nubbies. This happens on citrus all the time. Everybody's just cutting with a tiny little bit left, and then that citrus is pushing out crazy amounts of little new growth everywhere, and you get mass interior thickness, leading to bugs and diseases. Okay?
Good question.
Yes.
So you cut this here as opposed to back to here? Or am I
yes.
missing? Or is there a nub underneath there?
No, I was doing it the wrong way.
Oh, okay.
On purpose, sorry. So now I'm going in and cleaning them up so that you can see where they should be. I'm looking for my collar and I'm cutting. Yes.
So are you saying that if you cut it right outside the collar, you shouldn't be seeing that growth coming in the springtime? Or
You should have, no, it means that energy flow should flow over the top of it and push towards the end.
So you may still see some growth coming off of it that you'll just have to keep an eye on.
So
right?
so if you're eliminating the branch completely, it won't be there anymore. You'll see growth in the branch that is remaining. Okay? So if I had left these, it's going to try to push a little energy right here. Now, if there's no bud there, it's just going to die back. It's not going to even be able to push, and that's going to cost the tree some energy. So if we make it close enough, the energy will flow into the next set of branches, which is what we're trying to do.
Does cherry produce fruit on last year's growth?
Cherry can produce fruit on last year or new growth as well. Yeah. Are we doing questions?
Sorry, go ahead.
Oh no, that's totally fine. So let's talk about height of a tree. So a lot of people are here because maybe you've moved into a house that had too big of trees, let's say. So you're like, I am in an organization that is teaching me good practices now, but these trees didn't have good practices. They were from another owner, whatever. So what we're trying to do is you can make a head reduction in the winter only. And the idea is that you're going to be making heading cuts, which is a cut from the end of the branch. And you're only going to do that in winter. And why you're doing that is to reduce the height of the tree, and also to preset the structure of the tree for next year. So as you reduce down, it is very important that you are reducing down completely to an outside available branch. All right, so like if I didn't want this whole thing right here, okay? I would need to kick it out into an outside available branch for all of the energy to run into. We want to do as few large heading cuts as possible because we always get dry and die, okay? I saw an apricot on the other side that somebody had pruned really nice, except for every single head had a couple inches left on it, and they were all dead, and that cost a lot of energy for the tree, okay? So let's move on to this pear. Now, pears really, they grow very close. All of the angles are going to be closed. Oh, thank you. So it's natural that the angles are going to be closed. Our job in life for trees in general is to make the angles as wide as possible. An open angle creates more airflow, creates more light penetration, and to the eye looks nicer. But here's where you need to know what species you're working with. So different trees do different things and fruit on different spots. Okay, I'll see what we're working with down there. We got a plum, that's good. Okay, so what we're doing with the tree is with the pear tree is very similar in some ways. We are starting with airflow and light penetration, and we are starting with reducing the branches that are in the problem areas that are congesting, also making things darker, and we're reducing areas that are using energy. So first thing, we have a whole bunch of suckers from the base. We would clip those completely back, and I'm sure everybody knows how to do that. Yes?
Are these planted too close together?
No, I do not think so. I have learned that trees love to be close. They love to be snuggly. They like to communicate. So their root systems are speaking to each other. But what trees need is yearly pruning so that we create airflow between the two trees as well. Okay, so there's going to be some paring back of this guy right here in order to make a little more open space for this guy over here. Okay, so it's consistent.
Probably leave these branches on this tree that are going to the side there.
What I'm going to do is I'm going to say, yeah, the branches that are going away from this pear tree out here, yeah, we can fill those out a little bit more, but maybe just these ones that are congesting him right here, you know, maybe those can go. So we're just going to work with it here. You notice that I'm just cutting the cherry. I'm not actually going to touch this pear because pears can have fire blight. Okay, and pears and apples share fire blight, and fire blight is a disease that you're going to see starts at the top of all of these branches. This tree doesn't have it right now, but I'm just going to be safe. It's the only thing we worried about with contaminating pruners. That's why I'm saying that, and it can only transfer within its own family. So pear, loquat, quince, and apple. It's really easy to diagnose blackening of the tips of all the branches. The blackening gets deeper and deeper as it goes. Your job is to never touch that with your pruners, or if you do, sterilize them afterwards or cut below the affected material. So because I don't have a sterilization station out here and this isn't my garden, which I did bring some stuff in my truck if we need it, if anybody needs to clean off their pruners. I'm sure everybody did that though before we came.
Do you want alcohol?
Well, yeah, I'm not going to do it right now, but we're going to do that as we go from one tree to the next. If you're a pruner of more than one tree, you're going to quickly do that. Okay. Actually, yeah, give me a little alcohol so I can show this really quick. Oh, everybody. Here, I'll use this spray.
bunch of citrus, you could do
We have a
that.
little
If they're
light.
infected, you want to clean them out. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, let's say you know how it gets like maybe it's like neutral. If you're gonna put one that doesn't have it, you want to make sure that
So you just do it.
yeah, most of the time.
We know there's nothing on here, but honestly, I
It's
would
like all these guys, it's like that antibiotic interior. Yeah. Like you can see a couple.
Okay, while this is drying off a little bit, so I'm talking about nubbies, right? But actually a lot of the pruners that are on the market today are making it harder for you to make a nice clean cut. If you look at your equipment, some of you may have one sharp edge and one fat edge. The fat edge is always responsible for, it's really hard to actually get a good tight cut. So I would highly recommend any kind of pruner that is a double cut pruner, which means that it's got two cutting blades that come together in a bevel, and it has a flat back. So that will let you get a clean cut and much closer to the collar than some of the other pruners will. So I learned that a long time ago because it is hard to make nice cuts if you don't have the right equipment. All right,
So those
so
don't overlap when they close?
yeah, there you go. So see, you can put this
So close, right?
super close right there,
Well,
the flat back right there, and just make a close cut. Whereas that's where your fat edge would be normally, and so you're like a little bit away. Yeah, and so sometimes when it's a nice easy cut, you can be able to make it, but if it's a tight or hard cut, you're gonna end up leaving a nubby. Okay. So this pear has a weird shape. It's kind of an open vase, but it's also a central leader. So I'm just gonna follow my rules of airflow and light penetration first. We're gonna be changing the rotation of the pruners always to get to the outside edge of the collar, and that's what we're gonna leave. So this is not a nubby right here. We can see all of the wrinkles right here, and then our cut is just on the outside of that, okay? So as we're going through, I'm just looking for dead, diseased, damaged, and dysfunctional branches. Gosh, I can't even get my fingers in this one. This is a really bad angle. So we talked about our angles. We're trying to open our angles as much as possible. So for that reason, you know, we'd have to have this branch go. And we'll try to judge the best we can so we don't go into the big trunk portion. And we don't want to let bugs kind of take up shop in there. So these are all going out. We've got a little congestion in here. Oh, we've got some, whoops, I'm stuck. We've got some dead wood, die back up here. That's where some beetles could go in. This is kind of a weird branch. It's kind of crashing through everything. I think that we're gonna need to take this guy out right here. Oh goodness, that really shows us some stuff. Now we've got this guy in here, and he's definitely gonna provide a problem with this bad angle in there in the future. So think about every little tiny branch turning into a 3-inch branch, and then see, oh, but look, I can't even get in here yet because I've got 2 nubbies right here on the outside, and this is a splintered amount of growth right there. So first, I'm going to take off the nubbies. So remember, we're looking for dead, diseased, damaged, dysfunctional branches. So I'm finding a lot of dysfunctional branches right now, once they're in the wrong spot. Okay, so I cleanly removed that nubby. Whoops, there's one more. And that's going to allow me to actually get in and make the cut on this branch that I wanted to do. All right, so now we're getting some airflow in there, and I'm going to do all the easy stuff first, and then, and I'm not going to do the whole thing, but in practice, you're going to do all the easy stuff first. Everything that you know to do, you're going to do, and then you're going to come back and start doing the hard stuff. Okay, so I've got 2 crossing branches here. So I'm gonna take them out right there. Oh, I've got 2 more in here and it's going towards the interior. I'm gonna take these out. And why am I taking out full branches? Because pears are fruiting on these tiny little short guys. So what I'm not doing is cutting all the tiny little short branches off. And these are the ones that some people may say, oh, well, there's the dead part. Let's just cut it all off. Well, no, because that's where your pears are coming from. Okay? So we want to do full branches. Okay, now as I go around, I'm going to just realize that I'm doing a big circle over and over again, so that I'm kind of trying to see everything. And see, I'm already missing this, and we have a horribly tight branch back here. I can't even get my fingernail in there, so that's going to pose a problem. And we're going to do the best we can, because this is already growing into the tree. See how this was growing in right there? Now this was already rubbing, and now we've alleviated that, so the beetles can't get in there. And I think that's all we're going to get, because this is already mated together, so we don't want to do that. Okay.
Can I ask a question?
Yes.
You said it, sorry.
Sorry.
You want to keep this plant because they're going to fruit, right?
The little tiny one.
But after fruit is done, can we?
No.
No.
Mm-mm.
Okay.
That is an excellent question. What she's saying is, are these little tiny fruiting spurs only good for this year, and then after she sees a fruit on it, can they be cut off? And the answer is no. They're good for several years, and you need to keep them on there and eliminate full branches, which will stimulate the tree to create new branches with new places to fruit for your tree. So you don't have to worry about that. Ooh, we have some young gardeners here today. That's excellent. Okay. So now we're going to continue to go around, and you know, I'm noticing right now I'm already in a quandary because we've got this really substantial branch, and it's going and it's filling out this area which we needed to fill out, but it's completely crashing into the interior, and it has a pretty bad angle down here, but still plenty of room for my hand. And then we've got some crossing down here. So we need to make a big decision here and decide if we are going to eliminate this whole branch here, or maybe this one down here. So what I say is that since it's such a chunk of the tree, we do a modification on this branch. So I would cut this one off right here, the one that's crashing through, so that we've opened it up. Let me see if I actually can get that with my pruners. We're getting to the point where we need a saw.
Can you train your tree instead of cutting it, like pull it to
Oh.
the side so they're encouraged to?
Absolutely.
Change
Yes, you
direction.
can tie a string or whatever, and you can tie it to the fence, tie it to a rock, but that doesn't eliminate the need for pruning,
Yeah,
because it's just going to get bigger and bigger. And what you're doing by tying it is opening the angle, which is excellent, so that you get more light in there.
right. Yes.
Yes, but after a while, if the tree is too old or the branch is too old, it's going to be permanently set. So bending and staking is something that needs to be done with younger branches while there's still movement available. And then don't make the full correction immediately. Do a partial correction and let it acclimate and adjust to that position, and then readjust it and stretch it even farther, just like you would do
Yeah.
a stretch of your legs. You're not going full tilt, you're kind of easing into the biggest one you can, and then you can get the full extension. And then after about 6 to 8 months of that, the fullest one, you should be able to take everything away, and the branch should have set in the position that you want. But also opening that branch creates light, and so you're going to get a bunch of little side branches off of there. So then you're going to be dealing with, you know, cutting some off closer to the trunk area to create the air and light, basically. Okay, so my thing is with this branch here, I don't like it that it's going in the wrong direction. It should have been corrected and pulled back like this, but it is what it is. It's a substantial branch, and now we're here now, so we got to do something. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna take off the most problematic part of it, which is this boinging guy who's coming in here to the interior. And it's not going to be the prettiest branch, and that's okay. Everything is as it is. And again, when you're doing corrective pruning, it may take a couple years of corrective pruning if the trees haven't had it to reshape them properly. Now I'm kind of opening up, I'm pulling so I can get the rest of this. There we go. So now there's a little bit more airflow in there. All right, and now we would probably say that we could eliminate this branch just because it is an issue. We can also say to ourselves, which you probably shouldn't because there's a lot of stuff going on in life, but you can say to yourself, I have like a ½ an inch left, so I can keep this one on here now because I know I have to prune off so much other stuff, and then next season this one's gotta go, you know? So we could say something like that. All right, so as we come up here, we want to be doing the same thing up here, and it's going to be hard to reach, so we want to be clearing out the interior here. See how we have a co-dominant branch right here? That's two branches coming off the same location. We need to pick one of those branches and eliminate the other one. We need to pick the branch that's going in the best direction for us or has the most potential, okay? And eliminate that. You could even say to yourself, hey, I never wanted this pear to be so tall and have this much dominance in the center, and I really wanted it to be shorter. So you could think about reducing some of this central leader up here all the way down, and slowly over a couple prunings, creating more of a vase shape in here, eventually bringing it down to here, okay? So that you'd just be working with this lower tree, and you'd be doing that if you don't want it so tall, you can't reach, or you're dealing with kids. So we want the kids to be able to, I'm assuming that that's the goal, eventually have the kids be able to learn pruning and take care of the trees fully, or at least be able to harvest them safely. Can I start taking some questions?
I've got one question. So if you did want to bring it down, you wouldn't go all the way in one, you'd come down and bring it down a third and then another third over the year or two period, or can you just go right to the...
Well, I would look and I would say to myself, the most loving thing to do for the tree is to not take off a ton at one time. It's no more than 20%.
Okay.
So, yeah, I see what you mean. The end goal is to get, if you want this central leader out of here, the end goal is to have this entire structure off of here.
But do it over a few
Exactly,
year period,
but do it like maybe see this branch kick out right here.
Yeah.
We could maybe take this one down to here.
Okay.
And that's going, kind of in the right direction. And then we can take another one down maybe. And then that next year we can do the whole big clip.
Okay.
Yeah. We just don't want to do no pruning for year after year and then all of a sudden half the tree is gone, because that's really hard on the tree. So, any other questions?
I have a peach and a plum.
Yes.
Should I fertilize or prune now? Or which one? Is there an order that should be done?
You can do dry meal fertilizer now as well as pruning. And it needs to be done. That way it can kind of be cooking in there for spring. It's got something to wake up with. So you're talking about something that physically mixes in. If you want to fertilize with a liquid, you will wait until the tree wakes up again, okay? Because liquids, the tree's root system is very inactive. So now's a great time to add all of the slow release dry meal stuff and mix it in and cover it up with your mulch and all of this stuff, just like this. And then when the tree wakes up, it's gonna have something to eat. And then pruning's got to be done now, absolutely, because what happens in San Diego is, you know, we don't know when we're getting these rains, we don't know when it's stopping, and we could get hot all of a sudden, and we wouldn't have pruned our trees and we wouldn't have sprayed our trees with fungicide. And we've got to be able to get a couple coats of fungicide on there before they pop, basically.
They're already budding.
Yeah, exactly. And you can see, you know, pears are weird. So pears really wait and they go to sleep later in the year. But you can see at any moment something's going to wake up.
Yeah, there's a flower on this branch over here.
Mm-hmm. There is. They're very late, and this might go into dormancy in a month or two, or it could just kind of skip its do this little light dormancy. You see how it has pears. It's out of cycle a little bit, and that's okay. That's fine.
So would you do your pruning and then do your fungicide
Absolutely.
or your copper treatment?
Absolutely, yes. And yeah, I would do all my pruning because I don't want to use any more spray than I need to. Pruning off stuff I just sprayed.
Yeah.
But then honestly, I would do it multiple times. So I would prune and then spray right after I pruned, and then I would do it again in about 7 to 10 days, and then again, and I would especially do it again if it had rained. So it's hard for us to get a good coat of fungicide because we get so much moisture at the time when it needs to be put on, you know.
And then when it's raining, then that is an opportunity for fungus and microorganisms to get in, so you want to do it right after.
Well, it's that the rain is going to wash off the fungicide.
Well, I understand that, but
Yeah.
I guess the
Yeah,
second
absolutely.
thing is you don't want to be pruning them when it's like rainy.
Yeah, you want to prune when it's dry, and you want
Dry,
those cuts to heal when it's dry.
Yeah, good.
Get that good coat of drying off fungicide, and then have them deal with it. Or try to hit them right after you know the rains are done, but it's hard for us, so yeah.
Do you leave the leaves on the trees and let them fall off naturally?
I do, and I just pick a certain time because you're always going to have leaves on the tree when you want to spray, you know. I mean, you could give it a good shake and see what naturally falls, but I'm not going to go and pick off every leaf because I won't be able to get to all my trees that way.
Yeah.
I'm just going to say, you know what, this isn't the perfect textbook and it's fine. I'm getting some kind of fungicide on this guy before he pops, you know.
Are you using copper, you said, spray?
Yes.
And is that considered organic or
Yeah,
not?
that's considered
So the
organic
only
version.
negative about it is you got to do it in the morning when it's not windy, so because your bees and stuff like that, or
And absolutely, as you should with any spray, you should really do it at night after the bees go to bed, so that you've got the longest period of time.
okay, night's better,
Yeah, because then you go
Yeah.
all night long and then all morning long,
right?
and then the sun hits, you know.
And it's only copper that you use. You don't use any other sprays. I know there's other.
The only other thing I would use is neem oil, raw organic neem oil. I mean, I don't. I'm sure other people do, but I don't.
Okay.
And I don't use it. I use horticultural oil on apricots because they don't even like copper.
Oh, really?
So are there
Yeah.
any other, yeah, I've heard that.
Yeah.
Is there any other fruits that don't like the copper and we should
No, you can, like an apium. I've seen it be fine on the apium, but I would just maybe not spray the apium with the copper anyway. Yeah.
Well, I've read and been confused about, because sometimes they say, well, apricots or apricots you shouldn't do in the winter because of the disease. It's better to do it, spring or some other time. What do you think about that?
Well, I think that if you're talking about pruning,
Yes.
well, if you've got to do it before the tree wakes up, because otherwise you're in spring cutting off all the flowers and fruit.
Okay, so do it all in.
Yeah, you got to do it, before it's flowering and fruiting, or in the off season, because otherwise you're not gonna have a harvest. Yeah.
Question. Can you say a few words about pomegranate? I know it's not a real tree.
Yeah, no,
But
yeah,
we all grow
I think there's one at the
pomegranate,
end here.
pomegranate.
Yeah. Of course we can. So pomegranate is simple. There's not a lot of rules to pommy. It's
One at the
about
beginning.
cleaning. We can go down to
or
the
one
pommy.
up there, I guess. Too. I don't know.
Yeah, it's about cleaning out all the millions of little tiny branches that are congesting the center, and it's about getting them into 3 or 4 or 5 or 10 big solid branches so you have airflow, and that's it.
We prune the tree here in a row and probably prune too much of it. We get like 1 or 2 pomegranate of the whole tree.
Oh.
So after pruning correctly, to the raspberry.
Yeah, so you know, you can keep a bunch of big branches, the large branches, but I would take out all the little branches. And also, don't worry, pomegranates are going to come right back and you'll be fine before you know it. That's not going to be an issue. Now, if we're talking about, pruning something sensitive, then I would say, well, let's see if it recovers, and no, but you're fine. That's going to be just fine.
Yeah, so the pruning of the pomegranate, I'm thinking, is similar to pruning a fig. You can't really destroy the fig, and you want to clean out the interior.
Literally, clean out the interior, but you can just take a big sigh of relief because there's nothing bad you're going to do to it. And a heading cut, yeah, you cut off all the stuff where it can fruit, but it's not going to be anywhere near as detrimental as a heading cut on another species, like specifically citrus. Heading cut on citrus is just the worst.
Do you mix anything with your neem oil?
Yeah, it's about size of this.
I use raw neem oil, the thick, brown, nutty, smelly oil, like the raw stuff, and then I mix 2 tablespoons of the neem oil with a gallon of water and a teaspoon of like Dr. Bronner's dish soap, something to make a surfactant, and then swish it together.
And a gallon of water?
A gallon of water, yeah.
There's citrus tree pruning, the same principles, like you're trying to get the middles cleared out.
Citrus tree is actually a lot different, but part that you're talking about is the same. So congestion, you're trying to clear congestion, you're trying to clear the whole middle out and everything like that, just like you said, airflow. The difference is on a citrus, they're awake all the time, so we're never able to cut from the top down. No heading cuts ever. The only reason we're able to do that is because the tree is slow and inactive. And like on a peach, plum, apricot, all those ones are sleeping. And so we would not be doing heading cuts on those trees in the summer or the spring because they're awake, and that would damage them. Yeah.
But you can prune them down.
When they're sleeping, you can. Yeah.
So the citrus you said are always awake,
Citrus are always awake.
as well as avocados, right?
Correct. Yeah.
And you're saying not to head it down, but what if it's getting too tall? How do you maintain that?
Then you take the entire branch down at the connection point where it connects to another branch,
Right.
instead of just saying, oh, it's too tall where I believe it's too tall, and that's going to be the chopping point.
Because you won't get any fruit up there.
And you'll highly damage the tree. Yeah. What it's about is signaling damage to the tree and having the tree use all of its excess energy that it would use to create good fruit. Now it's trying to heal itself. It's in damage control, and we don't want to divert its attention to doing that.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
I have another question.
Oh yeah, go for it.
Couple questions. I've always heard you should rake the leaves as they fall, but I don't know how you do that when you got a whole bunch of mulch. So I don't know how important that is to you. Because I guess they got disease or something.
I mean, I'll be honest with you. The majority of the leaves that in an orchard that fall, I would absolutely leave them there.
Okay. 'Cause
They
it's mulch.
have as mulch, but not just that. They have beneficial bacteria. They have all sorts of organisms. They have overwintering beneficial bugs that you desperately need. Raking up the leaves, I think that's the only thing I post on my Instagram account all day long is like, oh, I didn't rake the leaves. Day 10, what happened? Nothing.
Okay.
Nothing bad happened.
All right.
You should leave the leaves.
All right.
Always leave the leaves. Now, if you get a disease, let's say your spraying doesn't work and then your whole tree is covered in peach leaf curl, highly active, everything looks melted. Have you ever seen a tree like that where all the leaves are melted? That is something, and it's covering the tree. I would put down a tarp and allow those leaves, because they're going to fall, to fall onto the tarp, and then take that off my property, because those spores can overwinter in the soil.
Okay.
And they do, which is why we keep spraying every year and not just one time.
Okay.
Yeah.
How about beneficial nematodes?
Yeah, absolutely.
Have you tried those?
I don't need those a
Okay.
lot, because if you practice a lot of good soil health and
Right.
you practice a holistic approach then you shouldn't really need to be introducing anything.
Okay,
You
how
should
about
just-
kaolin clay?
Yeah, but the truth is though, like as soon as it gets wet, it's not gonna work. So
Okay.
yeah, so for everything that I do is about helping the tree to be strong on her own
Right.
and allow her to function in the way that she wants to function with minimal help. I'm just the helper of what she needs. I'm not the controller or bringer inner of something that's going to change the environment too much. I know a lot of other people do really great with that kind of stuff. For me personally, I focus on really obsessively the nutrition of the tree and the corrective pruning of the tree, and that allows the tree to fight off a lot of bugs and diseases all on her own.
Okay.
And that may take a couple years to change your orchard to that, but it will happen. It will definitely happen, and that's why I like that these trees are so close, because they do have a communication system, and it probably kept them alive during portions that they may have actually died, like whatever the city did.
So,
Alright.
Like this branch so close, so how you do this one with this branch?
Yeah,
If you don't kill this, it look like you will this one.
right, yeah, so
So exactly where I
So if I wanted to keep this as tall as it is now, but I wanted to somehow make this a little more open, I would cut the ones that are closest on the inside, right there. And the pear is a very close angle tree, so it's still going to be pretty close, but it's better than it was before. So what I do is I cut it so that the angle is as wide as possible. So see this little one here I would take out, and I would take out that one back there because this one has kind of a curve over there.
like this. If you cut this, just do this, or cut this, keep one for each.
So, well, the thing is, you have to also understand the animal you're working with, okay? So this is pear, and we know that pear has closed angles, always, and no matter what. So we try to give a lot of airflow in here while also understanding the natural growth of the tree is it's always going to end with closed angles, and you can open them up a little bit, but it's let it be after a while.
After a while.
Yeah, like don't cut off every single angle on this to make them all perfect. What we want to do is help the tree as much as possible with airflow in here, right? Yeah, but if another tree, a different species, had angles that were closed like that, like a peach, I would take it off because that's not a natural way the peach grows. It has some closed angles, but it's got a bunch of big open ones too. Yeah.
may I ask a
In your
question?
pair, those two spirits going up, wouldn't it be possible maybe put something just to spread them apart because they look so good instead of cutting them off?
we got some work
Absolutely,
maybe.
you absolutely
then
can.
they'd be- or they
Yeah, we
get
work
through
for
there,
that.
and so versus cutting them down.
If you
Oh,
don't
really?
feel
Good.
comfortable cutting them,
Yeah.
then while they're
No, he does
young, that's
also,
why this is best done while they're young.
Yeah, probably should just
You
line a
can
video for
take
herself.
a
She doesn't
paint
really
stick
do a lot of
and
social
cut out the
media.
little notch on either side
Yep.
and shove it in there and try to start expanding those angles as much as you
Put some
can.
tape to protect it so it doesn't scratch it.
Exactly. Yeah, that's a great idea. Yeah. Yep, you can bend them.
Yeah, of course.
Definitely.
Is there an apple? Can you discuss an apple briefly? What do you do with an apple?
Sure, yeah, we can discuss an apple. An apple's a lot like a pear. It's got these little tiny spurs on it that you don't want to cut off, but you just want to create the nice airflow. Is there an apple? I think I saw an apple.
All right, Joe, where's the apple?
There's a nice one over there, and one of these are, no, those are plums. I think that's another cherry.
Well, it's really the same. So an apple is you don't have to worry too much. You just have to make sure that you've got airflow,
I think that one is
not cutting off the little spurs. Is someone
next to the pear there.
okay? Not cutting off the little short guys, eliminating full branches and having airflow. The difference with the apple is it loves to have nice open angles. So there's going to be a lot less problem choices that you're making. You're just like, well, what do I do? It's already open. Oh, you barely have any branches. Okay. Is there anything going to the inside? I'll just clip you out. It's pretty much it for an apple.
Okay, can I ask what about question first?
Yes.
When you talk about no head cut,
Yeah.
you say citrus and what? I missed that part.
Avocados.
Avocados. Okay.
Nothing should have a heading cut while it's awake, ever. We never do heading cuts.
Okay.
But in the winter, you can do a heading cut on stone fruits that are sleeping.
Okay.
But you can never do a heading cut on a citrus or an avocado or a tropical that's awake all the time. You need to do the correct cut, which is taking it down to an outside branch. That's it. Yeah, instead of here.
What about persimmons?
Yeah, so persimmons are very much the same. They've got tiny little spots on here where they fruit that you don't want to cut off because you're going to think they're all dead. So we're not cutting off tiny little short branches that look dead. We're eliminating large branches completely. And since it does go to sleep, you can bud set it from the top down to reduce the height down to an outside available branch. If there's no branch, down to an outside available bud, meaning look at the branch and pick one that goes out instead of one that goes in. Because if you cut it to one that goes in, now you're just making a branch that goes into the interior that you will then need to clip out, remind yourself to clip out at a later date. So you're just saving some work by doing that way.
So I'm going to stop questions.
Well, I was going to say one thing real quick.
Yeah.
You do have an newsletter you send out via email, don't you?
Yeah, we have a weekly blog as well. We have tons of information on our
Just so anybody wants to know what it is, it's just Fruitmommy.
just fruitmommy.com.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I get it now. I signed up for it.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Good.
So we have a group of about 25 people.
Okay.
So, and you're here until 1?
No. I don't think
Oh, you
so.
got to get going. Okay.
No, I can do whatever you want.
Oh, okay.
Where's my guys at? Oh, nice. Do you guys have a job?
No.
Right now?
Mm,
Okay, so we will stay here. They might need to leave after a little while.
That's fine, yeah.
But we're all here to walk around and help advise.
Perfect.
Yeah.
So this has been the most, as you guys have seen, the neglected part of the farm, partly because of the trauma that I experienced in these lovely homes over here, but also just because they're now outside the farm. So if we could group up into maybe 5 groups, and we could put 3 of those 5 groups out here who are the kind of the most experienced, however you feel comfortable with that experience level. And then we could put 2 groups. We have another line over there. There are some